So we are broadcasting and recording. So the keychain, I've got 490 items in my keychain because my computer goes around a lot. So you can find all of them. In fact, has my computer been at Tom's house? Let's see. Nope. So you can use the keychain utility to look up the passwords for websites, for applications, for file servers, for networks, and everything is saved under your computer's administrator password. So that one administrator password is the most important password to remember, because that's what all the other passwords are saved under. Now let me see, make sure the broadcast is actually working. Should have today's meeting showing up live. Yep. And should be playing. Yep. Because that's what all the other passwords are saying. So we're working here. Now on the iDevice, it's a little different. One of the features of iCloud Keychain, of iCloud, is to synchronize the passwords between your devices. So when you have passwords that you put on your computer, it goes into the iPad. When you have passwords that go onto your iPad, they'll go into the computer. And so on the iPad, if you go into the Settings app, looks like the gears, and then under Safari, and then under passcodes, I think it is. Am I remembering the wrong place? Passwords. So in Safari, and then General, and then Passwords, you can see, and again, then it asks for your iPad passcode so that someone who just picks up your device can't get into your passwords. So the iPad passcode is like your computer administrator password. That was the one code you shouldn't ever forget, because then you can't get back into your iPad with it. So now here's all the list of all the passwords that my Safari has remembered, and all the different websites I've gone to, and it synchronizes between my iPad and my computer, so I can see what those are. And if I want to see what a password is, I can tap on it, and it will then show me what that saved password is. So if you forget your password, you can go into the password list to find out a password for a certain site.
I followed you. I got into settings, but I didn't find a general.
Safari.
Okay, yeah, there's general.
Well, you want Safari first, and then general. You want the general Safari.
On the iPad.
Yes. There is a general settings for the iPad, but we want the Safari settings first. Not sure why it's flickering on me.
Okay, when I start over under settings.
Yep. Then go to Safari.
List.
Should be between Maps and News.
I'm sorry.
It should be between Maps and News. Or just, you can search for Safari if you want, but it should be in here. Right there, Safari. And then under the general section, there's passwords. Scroll off. Yeah, there it is. No, we missed it. All right, get done. Passwords. And put in your phone's passcode. And so that's the list of passwords that you've saved. And so far you haven't saved any, so your list is empty. So there's an add password button at the bottom that you can add a password manually, or what is more common is when you go to a website. So actually, no, I'm going to switch back to the iPad. So the add password button at the bottom of the list, you can type in a website address, a username, and a password. That's tedious. We don't like doing tedious things on the iPad. So when you go to a website and log in, Safari will open a window asking if you want to save that password. And you can say yes, and then it saves it for you in that password list. So if I want to go back to a website, let's go to, let's say we'll go to mail. Don't remember if I've gone to mail on this iPad. So if I tap in the field, I have a button that says passwords. And so I can tap on that, and now it's going to list all my passwords. And it found a password for a website close to what I'm on. So this is the webmail. So I can just tap my username, and it fills in the username and password for me. So because I typed it manually once and told Safari to save it, now it's saved, and the iPad is remembering it for me, and I don't have to. But if I do want to look up what it was, I can go into the settings and find out what that saved password is. Because that's saved under the iPad password or the admin password on the computer. So the main password for each device are the ones that you really need to remember. Only if you turn on iCloud keychain syncing. And that feature was added in OS 8, I think it was. A year or two ago, they added keychain syncing so that you could synchronize your keychain between your computer and your device.
But it told me right now that there was none saved. That was just saying not saved in iPhone.
Which probably means your keychain syncing is turned off. So back in settings, under iCloud, you have a keychain option to turn keychain syncing on. And then on the computer, you have to turn it on also. So if I go into my keychain, my iCloud keychain is turned on. So it is synchronizing the keychain data between my devices. So if we go to the Mac, and we go to System Preferences, and then iCloud.
You went to iCloud.
Right.
That's the thing.
That's the Apple service that synchronizes your keychains. So the iCloud service will synchronize all these different features. It will also synchronize your Safari bookmarks if you want it to. And I've got it also, keychain syncing is turned on. So you turn iCloud keychain syncing on, turn that on all your devices. And then whenever you add a password on one device, it will automatically get sent to all your other devices. Especially handy on the iPhone and the iPad, where you're supposed to have long, complicated passwords, but then they're hard to type on the iPad keyboard. So being able to have the iPad remember the password for you is really handy. And when you log into somewhere new, you can, let me just go somewhere I've never been. Chase Bank. It will suggest a password for you. So I don't have a Chase account, so I'm going to find somewhere where it says log in or create an account. Typical on banks. There we go. Sign. You want to have a especially good password. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to create an account. I'm just looking for a website that will let me create a password that I don't already use. See if I can find here's Apple's Tech Note. So when you create an account on a website for the first time, it will prompt you to use a password, and Safari will. That's not what I wanted either. Safari will suggest a password, and it's a very long password, which makes it hard for the bad guys to break into your account because it's a very long password. There's a suggestion. It's also oh, my ad blocker is blocking 18 ads and they're mad at me. Sort of this catch-22 with ad blocking, that we don't want the obtrusive ads, but we want the website to be able to make money to stay there for us. So Safari is suggesting this big long password, which is a good secure password that the bad guys can't guess very easily, but it usually means that you can't remember it yourself very easily either. So that's why they store in the iCloud keychain, so then all your devices will know that password without you having to remember it. And it's a big, good, long password so that the bad guys can't get in either. The keychain is a file on the computer, so it will get backed up with your regular Time Machine backup. Some people like to have a notebook of printed passwords that they write down. The annoyance there is when you change a password on your computer, you're going to remember to change it in your notebook. There is also a couple of third-party password management programs. Keychain is convenient if you have only Apple devices. It works with the Mac, iPad, iPhone, and iPod Touch. If you also have Windows computers or Android computers, then there are other password managers that will work cross-platform. One very popular Mac password manager is 1Password. It's $50, which is a bit expensive, but it does do really good password management. KeePass, KeePass, is an open source cross-platform password manager for pretty much all platforms. So Windows, Mac, iOS, Android. So if you have multiple devices with different platforms, that's popular. And then LastPass is also a very popular password manager, but they just got bought by somebody. Who was it?
LogMeIn.
LogMeIn, yeah. Now, LogMeIn is a remote access program that tech support people use a lot to remotely log into a computer to fix it. They've been getting a sort of a black eye lately because the fake tech support people who are stealing your money are using LogMeIn to get into your computer. So you'll get a fake message that your computer's infected and call the phone number. They'll offer to log in and fix the problem, and they have you install LogMeIn. And so we're pretty sure LastPass is still going to be okay. LogMeIn is a good, reputable company, but there's just something a little bit we don't like about them getting bought by somebody. There's no valid reason for it, but
Well, LogMeIn went from free to paid.
right.
That's what-
That was interesting. LogMeIn and GoToMyPC are two of the big remote access. LogMeIn had a free on the computer but pay on the tablet, and then GoToMyPC had pay on the computer and free on the tablet, because you would pay for one end of it. And then LogMeIn canceled their free accounts, so LogMeIn has no free accounts anymore. So most of us went over to use TeamViewer, which has a free for personal use. So if you have a spouse or relatives, I do this with my mom. I've got it running on her computer, so I can log in and fix problems without driving all the way out to Churchville. Very, very popular with personal people. I've got my computer at home on TeamViewer, so I can log into there when I need to. And it's a neat feature being able to log into that computer as if you were sitting right in front of it. But again, the bad guys are starting to take advantage of all the tools that the good guys have put together, and they're getting kind of a black eye about it. So actually here, I bet I can create an account and password. There we are. So now Safari is recognizing this as a password field and suggesting a password for me to use. And it will be stored in the keychain, so I don't have to remember it, which is a good thing because I probably won't remember it. So password management is one of the biggest sort of techie things that you end up doing. Dennis gave a really nice password management presentation. If I can find it here. Oh, January 2013. Wow. We should probably do another one pretty soon. Didn't realize it was that long ago. And so
January 13th.
Yeah.
January 16th would be a good anniversary.
Yeah. Better than yesterday practices. So it's we're always told you should have long, complicated passwords so bad guys can't break into your accounts. But then they're hard to remember, so people either write them down or they'll use too simple a password. And then the bad guys can break in easier. There's a security company called GRC, and he wrote this program called Password Haystacks. And the simpler so a lot of websites, when you create a password, have a strength meter. How strong your password is based on uppercase and lowercase and letters and numbers and symbols and whatnots. And that's all based on how fast it would be to crack that password. One of the very first recommendations is do not use a word. And we're trying to teach ourselves to say passphrase instead of password, because one of the attacks the bad guys do is called a dictionary attack. They just try every word in the dictionary. And since it's a computer, it can do it really, really fast. So if I say password, that appears to be a long password with 8 characters, but it will take a computer 200 thousandths of a second to crack it. Partly because it's a word, so it's in the dictionary, and partly because a lot of people have used password as their password. So the first thing the bad guys often try is a list of known passwords. Every time there's a password breach, there was the recent Target breach, Home Depot breach, T-Mobile's data got loose from Experian, and every time those passwords are breached, they're put into this giant list of passwords that people know about. And the researchers have done statistical analysis on what the most common passwords are. And they have found, is this year? Like every year, there's a new list of the most common passwords. They have found the very most common passwords. This is in 2007, and the list is almost the same today. Password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. QWERTY. So passwords are very simple and very easy to guess. And what the bad guys will often do is say, they got a password from Home Depot. Well, they're going to try that password on your Amazon account and your PayPal account and your Citibank account, because that's where the money is. They don't necessarily want your Home Depot account, but they'll try to find an account where there's money. So people use simple passwords, and they use the same password on multiple sites, which makes it easy for the bad guys to break into multiple sites. So by having a mix of uppercase and lowercase, so just putting a capital P in, it's now going to take only half a second. But from the analysis of passwords, websites that make you put a capital letter in, almost always people use the first letter as capital. So the bad guys check that. So never use the first letter as your capital letter, because that's what the bad guys check for. And length is better. So that's why we say passphrase. So best of times, worst of times. Easy to remember, and it will take 1 billion centuries to crack. However, this is a common phrase. So next to the dictionary, Bartlett's familiar quotations gets fed into password cracking scenarios. There was a password that was discovered in one of the breaches. There is no fate but what we make, which is a line from the Terminator, the original Terminator movie. It looked like a long, good password, but it became a popular quote. And so, of course, now that's in the list of popular passwords, and you can't use that anymore. So 2 words separated by numbers. That way you don't have a dictionary word, you have a mix of letters and numbers. It's a longer password. The length of the password makes more difficult to crack than having the uppercase and lowercase and symbols. So you can sort of see that if I add 1 more character, it went from 2 weeks to 2 years. Because when they're cracking your password, they don't know what they've got right, and they don't know how long your password is. So they have to try every 5-character password, every 6-character password, every 7-character password. And letters and numbers are mostly used. Some of the fast cracks will use symbols too. So if we put an @ symbol in, now I just went to 12,000 centuries because I increased the number of characters and the amount, the kind of characters I'm using.
There's still some sites that say,
Right. There are some websites that have a maximum password length. Yeah. Right. So we've heard about some of the big banks where they won't let you have a password longer than 12 or 15 characters. And that usually means they have a 50-year-old COBOL database in the back end with a literal 12-character password field. and no one's bothered to update it yet because it works. There have been some cases where people have found that the bank will allow you to type in 20 characters, but it ignores, 9 through 20. It only wants 8 characters. So it's very hard to come up with good short passwords because they can be broken so easy. There are specific, in fact, what they call the cracking array, where it's a custom chip that was designed to break passwords. And it's very similar to the arrays that are designed to mine bitcoins, because it's just a math problem. So you can solve math problems. You can write custom chips that can solve them faster, and so the bad guys can get into passwords really easy. And in many cases, they don't even need to break into your password because they'll just look at the list of known leaked password. There's a website that's kind of interesting, Have I Been Pwned, which is a well, it's elite speak, which there's an elite group of hackers back when hackers was a good thing. It's funny now, when I was in school, I was a hacker. The guy that sits at the computer and hacks out your code. Hackers were good, and it was the criminal hackers, or we called them crackers, were bad. But then the media picked up on hackers, and hackers became the bad word, and now it's ethical hacking are the good guys. And you can actually get a certification in ethical hacking. Yeah, the white hats and black hats. And now we've got gray hats. You're a white hat during the day working at Symantec, and then you go home at night and put on your black hat and steal passwords by running fake tech support.
You watched the new series Cyber?
Yeah, CSI Cyber, yep. What's really amazing about that is the science they're using and the computer procedures they're using are real. And the code they use is real. There's another website, and we'll get into half a second. There's a guy that looks at all the code on TV and figures out where it came from and what it actually does. And if it has anything to do with the scene they're actually shooting. Yeah. So Have I Been Pwned? You put in your email address. And what it does is it looks through the list of all of the compromised email addresses and passwords from all of the loose websites that have and data breaches, and it will see if your email address is in that list, which means that the password you used for that website has been compromised, and you probably should change your password pretty quick. Now I'm a little, let me see what was the other one, because I know I was in LinkedIn before. Yep. So I was in LinkedIn before the LinkedIn breach. So my work password was leaked by Adobe, actually. So and this was a huge one. 153 million Adobe accounts were breached. So if you ever signed up for anything from Adobe, even to download a trial of Adobe software, your email address has been leaked, and the password you had on that account is in danger of being breached. They said the cryptography was so poorly done, it's easy to get the passwords. So it makes you want to change your email address too. Let's see if I can find, yeah, movie code. So this guy goes through code found in movies and TV shows and looks at the code, figures out what it does, if it makes any sense, if it's legitimate code. So this code that they're doing from Mission Impossible is a school example for drawing spirals. So even though he says he's copying top secret files, the code on screen is going to draw a spiral in a graphic program. Yeah, what's his regular job? I don't know if he has his name in here anywhere. Oh, John Graham Cumming. He's a cryptographer. He also wrote a book called The Geek Atlas. It's a history, basically, of science and technology and where things sort of came alive in historical perspective. A lot of these, oops, I lost the one I wanted. A lot of the projects like this start out as somebody's, hobby, and then quite often they'll turn into a full-time job. So here's his Twitter account. He is English. He was, if I remember right, he was one of the guys that got Britain to apologize to Alan Turing for ostracizing him and chemically castrating him because he was gay.
He's already dead.
Yeah, it was after his death, but it was just a couple of years ago that they got him to apologize to Turing. A lot of these little projects, IMDb is another big one for movies. Started out as a couple of college kids researching movies, and then it will get bought by somebody for $1 bazillion.
The AMC had one. Guys, this week, I don't remember what it was, but they had started something about it.
Yeah. That almost has become the college business plan these days.
Yeah.
I don't need to go to college. I'm going to create a company and get bought by Google, and for $1 billion, and then I can retire. Because that's happened a few times. The two guys that started YouTube, but it's not as likely anymore. So you should really go to school too.
What was that HBO sitcom about computer geeks? Do you recall that? It was on like last year.
Oh yeah, Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
So Silicon Valley TV show. I don't want to go to the iTunes store. I wanted to see on the web. It's launching iTunes anyway. So the Silicon Valley TV show was really popular with the computer geeks because I haven't seen it myself, but a lot of stuff I read and heard people talking about. They know people like that. They've been in meetings like that. The boss says, I want it to do this, and the 5 engineers say that's going to be 5 years and $1 billion, and the boss says next week and for $1,000.
I recommend that. It's going to be a computer geek to appreciate it. Had some good humor.
Yeah. So it's out for a 3rd season. Is it out on DVD yet? Released on Blu-ray, yeah. So every now and then, one of the pay networks will do a really popular show. Game of Thrones was big. Dexter was big on Showtime, Silicon Valley. And makes you want to subscribe to that channel to get that show. And then you get hooked on the other shows they have, and you end up, and then suddenly your cable bill is $300 a month. Another question? Bob?
Yeah. I still don't understand photos. I understood iPhoto. I was putting up my pictures, everything, whether they're personal pictures or things they grabbed off the web into it. And I had this idea that here, these pictures are all in here. But now I load pictures from my phone to my computer, and they're in the photos. I don't know if I have them on my computer or not. Like if I don't disconnect from the internet, are they there? How many of them are there? And I'm starting to see, like, when I did the update, I had this big data for pictures.
There's a new feature, yeah.
So when am I going to read on that where somebody can say cut back, I have to delete pictures or,
Yeah.
you know, what happens when I got 100,000 pictures? Where are they all going to be?
So the Photos app that Apple introduced last year to replace iPhoto has been quite confusing to a lot of people. Partly because they added several features in addition to the photo ability. All right, we'll go over here while you're doing that. And Photos itself is just a database of your photos. So the core feature is exactly like iPhoto was. You bring photos in and you make albums, you make books, you make cards, you make slideshows. So the core features are there. The other thing that they can do is synchronize your photos through iCloud. And so if we go back to system preferences, the Photos option throughout has 3 different features. When you create your iCloud library, which it starts by reading in your iPhoto library, that file is a file on your computer. You can have a feature called iCloud Photo Library, and that will copy all of your photos to the cloud with the intent that you can see those photos on any device, your phone, your tablet, your computer, which is nice, except Apple only gives you 5 gigabytes of free disk space on the cloud. And most people's photo libraries are much, much bigger than that. So you can buy a 50 gig plan for $1 a month or a 200 gig plan for $4 a month. Running. I think it's still going. I don't think it's criticizing Apple and 16 gig phones. A penalty to make you buy more iCloud photo storage. There's so little storage for free that it makes you buy more because you need more. Apple is among the lower of the free tiers. Google gives you 15 gigabytes of free tiers. And with Google Photos, you can put an unlimited number of photos as long as they're less than 16 megapixels. And so if they're greater than 16 megapixels, they count against your 15 gigs of storage. With Apple, the iCloud Photo Library goes against your iCloud storage, which is 5 gigs free. And you may not want to see all of your photos on all your devices. So you can turn that off so it doesn't put all of the photos on the cloud. I kind of wish they had these in a different order. Because my photo stream is the 1,000 most recent photos you've taken. And they do not count toward the 5 gigs of storage. And so when you take a picture with your phone or your tablet, it goes up to the cloud, comes down to the computer, and is stored in the file on the computer and in the photo stream on the cloud. So if you disconnect from the internet, you still have them on your computer because it is physically on your computer. But PhotoStream is only the last 1,000 photos. And for most people, that's months and months and months. Technically, it's the last 1,000 photos or the last 30 days, whichever is more. So if you take more than 1,000 photos a month, it would be less than a month's worth of photos. So for most people, the photo stream is enough because you get the most recent photos on all your devices. And when you do take a picture, it lives on both devices for a while. Well, in both places. Take a picture on your phone, it's in the camera roll, and it sends it to PhotoStream. The camera roll is never deleted unless you delete it yourself. PhotoStream automatically times out at 1,000. So when you take the 1,001st photo, the oldest one on PhotoStream is deleted. But it's never deleted from your camera roll unless you delete it yourself. Same thing on the computer. When you import pictures into the computer from a camera, dragging them in from a website, the last 1,000 photos go to the photo stream, and the photo stream will time out and delete the oldest photos. But the photos in your library stay in your computer unless you delete them yourself.
And they're located where? Photo library or something?
Yeah, the default location is in your pictures folder called Photos Library. You can have multiple libraries if you want. Some people have a personal library, a business library. Go to my home folder, go into pictures. And so the old iPhoto library is still there. It doesn't delete it, it just converts it into the new Photos library. The Photos app that they introduced for the Mac, I think it started coming with 10.10.3, is very similar in operation to the Photos app on the phone and the tablet. So they wanted to make the apps work the same across all the platforms. And since there are many more phones than there are Macs, they made the Mac version look like the phone version. So you can have several libraries if you want. In fact, I've got another one down here called Photo Library. In the Photos app, or even in iPhoto before that, you could close one library and open a different library. If you hold the Option key down, I think it was, as you open the program, it asks you which library you want to use. Or you can just click on the library. So if I double click that library, it opens, or if I double click on that library, it will open. So whichever library you want to open, you can. Usually people don't go to multiple libraries until they get into the hundreds of thousands of photos, and the file gets too big to manage very well. It gets too big and then too slow. So on the Cider library,
You've got a hard number on that, it just gets slower.
correct, yeah. There's no hard number on the maximum number of files you're going to have in it. But the bigger it gets, the slower it can become. And that was actually the first couple versions of iPhoto. They were sort of talking about, yeah, you could have 10,000 photos in your library. And then some photographer says, well, I've got 100,000 photos, and it's god awful slow. So that's always been one of the features on the next version of iPhoto was always it's faster for dealing with large numbers of photos.
So a practical question.
Pardon? Photos started with 10.10.3. So that's the first version of the OS that it was available with. And then there was a version of iPhoto for Mavericks 10.9 and a version for Yosemite 10.10. However, when Photos came out, Apple removed the iPhoto update from the App Store. So if you had an older version of iPhoto that you hadn't upgraded yet, you now can't upgrade it. And it kind of forces you to move to Photos, which you kind of should anyway, but it's annoying that they're forcing you to do it. You try to open iPhoto and it says this program is not supported. Now, I probably did do the upgrade. But I'm on El Capitan now. I haven't tried this yet. Yeah, 9.6.1 was the last version of iPhoto for Yosemite. Does it work on El Capitan? We'll see if it launches. So with Photos, it does the same things. In fact, one of the things that I do, when you open Photos for the first time, you've got your buttons across the top to see your photos, and then shared. That's the third thing in that system preference is photo sharing. So photo sharing is you're sharing your photos with other people. So photo stream is your photos are going between your devices. Photo sharing is your photos will go to someone else when you tell it to. And so the Photos app will show you those shared photos. So I have a shared library called AirShows that I send to some friends. Then I have the albums that I've created and the projects I've created. And it's buttons across the top. iPhoto had a menu bar down the side. So this version of Photos, we can show the sidebar. Now it looks a lot like iPhoto did, where you've got your photos, you've got your albums, you got your projects. So it looks more like iPhoto did and can make it a little easier getting used to. Oh, let's see what iPhoto wants me. Probably to tell me, yeah. So now it's warning me that this library has already been imported or migrated to Photos. So I probably don't want to open it and make changes, because those changes wouldn't be reflected in the new Photos library. So if you have the latest iPhoto, it will still work. But if you didn't upgrade iPhoto before Photos came out, then you have to go to Photos.
But I had probably 40,000 pictures in the pictures thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I finally got Photos, it has already, all of them have been put into Photos.
If you open Photos the first time, it will ask you if you want to convert your iPhoto library, and you can let it. If you never opened iPhoto,
No.
right. So if you never converted your library, then it's all still in iPhoto. So if you open Photos now to convert your library, you can switch over to Photos.
So those are essentially saved in iPhoto.
Right. The iPhoto library and the Photos library stay separate. So if I go to iPhoto library, in fact, when I opened iPhoto just now, it said it's already been converted. It knows it converted it to Photos.
So that's the test I can
Yeah.
put in mine.
Yeah. And you can see how big your Photos library is versus your Photos library. So my Photos library is 1.8 gigs. So also, that's the one I converted. Now with the iPhoto or iCloud photo library, it uses that 5 gigabytes of storage you have for free. If your library is much bigger than that, it won't work, and it will tell you to buy more storage. What it does try to do, though, is optimize the photos for the amount of storage you do have. So my photo library is 300 megs on iCloud, even though it's almost 2 gigs on the computer. And it does that by putting low resolution photos on the cloud so you can browse through them. But if you open a photo to edit, it will then pull the high resolution photo from your computer, right. So the cloud will go back to your computer to bring the high res photo back in. So if your photo library is small enough, you can still use the iCloud photo library without paying any extra storage. Or you can go up to more storage. And as I mentioned, Google gives you unlimited storage as long as your photos are under 16 megapixels. Flickr gives you a terabyte of storage with no file size limit. Microsoft just had to back off. They were advertising unlimited storage, and some people actually took advantage of it. They said there were several accounts that had 75 terabytes of data stored. So there's millions of people that put a few hundred megs, and then a couple of guys that had 100 terabytes. So now they're saying that you get a terabyte for free, and you can buy more if you want. But that's a huge amount of space on the cloud. And Google's almost got it the right way that hard drives are so cheap. Just you throw another rack of hard drives in. You don't have to worry about limiting people to their space.
Well,
Bob, you're
practical matter. When I just updated iOS, I saw how much it told me that I had to rearrange my memory. There wasn't enough room,
Yeah.
and so on. And I'd like to shave down the amount of space dedicated to pictures and allow more room for music. I'm not sure how to go about that.
So the question basically is, how do you manage what storage is used on the iDevice? The short answer is you don't. There's no automatic method. So if I go into general, come on. No. VGA 1, please. There we are. So under general, under usage, I miss it. There we go. Storage and iCloud usage. So this is broken down into two sections. You've got your iCloud storage on the bottom and your local storage on top. You can tap on Manage Storage, and it will tell you how much space is being used by all of your stuff. But there's no way to limit any of that automatically. You have to manually delete things that you don't want anymore. So in my case, I've got 2.2 gigs of photos. Say if I wanted to limit that to 1 gig of photos, there's no automatic way to do that. You have to manage it and delete it yourself. We keep hoping that Apple's going to increase the minimum storage.
Looking at your computer there.
This is the iPad.
Oh, the iPad. I'm
Yeah.
looking at my screen here. Is it in the settings area?
Yeah, under general and then under usage. Could say storage and iCloud usage in the general setting. Yep. So storage is your local storage, and then cloud is your cloud storage. So if you're going to manage storage, the top one, that will tell you how much stuff is being used on your local device and how much is being used for each type of thing. So each program, it will tell you how much you're using. And then at the top, it is usually your photos. Photos and music are usually the biggest things.
Yeah, they're in order of size.
Right, it's sorted by size. So it may be that you've got a lot of things down at the bottom that are tiny, but if you delete a lot of the tiny things, it may add up to a big thing. But I've got a 16 gig iPad, and it's always full because it's always too much. So the phones, the first phones were 8, 16, 32. Now they're 16, 64. They've realized that 8 is too small, but they went to 16, 64 instead of making 32 the smallest. And it's a marketing issue. I think that's another point in the lawsuit, is it forces you to spend $100 to get more storage. So you have to manage yourself a little better. When you get too many photos, you can delete them yourself.
Delete them
from the camera roll. Ironically, on the phone. So this is storage only on the phone. And ironically, they call it a camera roll because that's what we're used to. It's pictures taken by the camera. And in some places, it will call it photo library. So I went into my photos, and so 2.2 gigs are photos on the computer, and on 14 megs is the photo stream. So that's that 1,000 most recent photos. So to delete photos from your photo library, you have to go into the Photos app and then select what you want to delete. There isn't an easy way to delete a lot of photos at once. One of the ways you can do it, so in the top right is the select button. So if I hit that, then you tap on each photo you want to delete, and you get a little blue check mark. And then there's a trash can icon to delete those selected photos. One of the things you can do is you can select an entire moment. So over on the right-hand side, you can say select, and you get that whole moment. There's no easy way to do a select all or a select multiple moments, but you can do moment by moment rather than individual pictures.
There's no way to go back to the beginning here.
Beginning of what?
Scrolling. I'm doing this and go backwards. I want to go back to the very first pictures on there.
Yeah, you scroll all the way through, or at the very top, you can go back to years. So in the top left corner, you're usually in moments. So you can go from moments to collections, where you see a list. So you see smaller thumbnails, but more time. Then you go back to collections, and then you go back to years. And then you can tap on the oldest one to jump in to get to the oldest one. This was an interesting picture. Got an F-16, an F-35, and I think that's a P-40. So 75 years of airplane history. P-51, isn't it? Is the Mustang? Not the Lightning. So wait, when I'm surprised he doesn't have his flaps down. So the Mustang has got, you know, throttle to the firewall, trying to go as fast as they can. Right, and the jets are going as slow as they possibly can. A lot of times their flaps will be down. I've seen them a couple of times where they lower the landing gear to induce more drag so they can fly slower. So it's like, the Mustang max speed is 200, and the jets, the min speed is 200.
I'm looking at my very first photo on this phone.
Mm-hmm.
December.
I've got one from 2005, a Nebula.
Is there info on this? Like, I'm pretty sure I know what it is.
So is there information on the photos? Not in the photo program. In iPhoto and other photo programs, there's a window you can bring up that shows you the meta information. The camera that took the photo, the date, the time, shutter information, things like that.
So I gotta go back to my computer.
Or you can use a different program on the iPad that shows that data. It's called the EXIF information, EXIF.
Any guess? I'm sorry.
Hawaii?
No. Iguazu Falls from Brazil.
Ah. No, EXIT, EXIF. I think Camera Plus can do it, which is a very popular camera application for taking pictures. But here's a bunch of them, a couple of free ones, EXIF Wizard, EXIF Viewer, to view the EXIF data on your device. Let's just try that one. Nice thing about free apps is if you don't like it, you delete it. Did I just miss? I think I tapped the wrong place and it went away. We'll search for EXIF. So there's free ones. So the EXIF Wizard was free. EXIF Wizard Pro was $2.
Are they just showing the metadata?
Yeah. Some of them may do more than that.
So I delete a picture here on the phone. It's still on the computer at home.
If you delete it from the library, yes. If you delete it from PhotoStream, it gets deleted from PhotoStream on the cloud and PhotoStream on the computer. But where it gets tricky. The PhotoStream pictures are in your library, and they don't get deleted from the library. They only get deleted from PhotoStream. So when you delete them from the library, it's only the library on that one device. Unless you have iCloud Photo Library turned on. Then it's the same library on all devices. Just to make it even more confusing. So let's take a look at this. Yes, I have to let it see my photo. So let's see where that picture was taken. So it gives me the size, the date and time, digitized. It came from Picasa through GIMP. So NASA, so this was from the astronomy picture of the day. Somebody at NASA is using Picasa and GIMP to edit their photos. Why not? They're the government. They don't have enough money to buy Photoshop. So some of these are pulled off the web and there won't be any information. Oh, that one came through Photoshop. Pictures I've taken places. That one I took with the iPad. So it's kind of neat to see that on the iPad, but it's in the Photos application, there's an info command, and similar to in iPhoto, it shows you that extra information about the photo. And you know, the camera that was taken with, the dimensions, the size, ISO, the f-stop. Another question?
Yeah. I saw one of the TV shows recently. They took a picture of a guy and then they were Googling his face to try to identify him or doing some sort of a search. I just wonder about, like, there's a tree in my neighborhood. I take a picture of it. I want to try to identify it. Is there any way to take a picture of that tree and Googling what it is?
There's the Google reverse image search. There are also some specific apps. I've seen one for birds. You record the bird song and it looks it up and tells you what that bird is. Shazam for birds. Tells you what bird that is. I think I've seen a tree one where you take a picture of the leaf. So
whatever, I don't remember what TV show it was, but they had a picture of the guy's face and they were doing like sort of a Google search. Some specific database, I suppose.
A lot of the TV shows that do that, it's all fake for the TV show. And it happens in seconds instead of hours. Yeah.
Leaf Snap, iPad.
Leaf Snap?
Leaf Snap. 3.5 stars.
It's a great tree in my neighborhood. I don't know what it is. It's got a very distinctive shape. It's only about 12 feet high.
Yeah.
And it has a break in the trunk. You can see right through the trunk. A linear break that's maybe about 18 inches long, where there's an actual, like, sometimes it's the bark coming off.
Yep.
But this seemed to be right through the trunk itself. And very distinctive tree.
I'm going to take a picture of Adam. Drag it. No, that didn't work. I want to search by image. So I'm going to upload an image. I wanted to just drag it. I guess not. Oh, it's got too many people in it.
It's called Leaf Snap.
Yeah.
So there might be a fish snap and a bird snap.
Probably.
Find my pictures folder.
Basher snap.
Find Adam. This might be too easy because the name of the file is Adam Engst. And so the best guess is this is Adam Engst. And so I just uploaded the picture, it searched the picture, and found a bunch of stuff. Now let's upload that one of multiple people and see what happens. I've got that one of Bob Taylor and his band playing. It was on the desktop. Bob Taylor. Let's see what it gets out of that. No, not sure what it is. But it found other images similar with a bunch of people on them. See if I have anything else that might work better. There's one with only 2 people. Woz when he was on Dancing with the Stars. Yep, Steve Wozniak, Dancing with the Stars. And then it found other images that were very similar.
Well, the faces features from iPhone, does that work with photos, streaming, and so on?
Yep. You will name a face to begin with, but then it will find that similar face in the rest of your photos.
Check.
Yep. Look, there's Matthew. And there's more photos of Matthew. So it's a little scary what you see on TV, but most of it is based on real features. It just may not be as real or as fast as the TV show makes it look. Make sure, yep, our stream is still running. That's last Saturday the stream died and I didn't notice it. So someone who was trying to watch it, the video froze, but the audio kept going. Google Photos has a really cool feature. Nick talked about it at Wednesday's meeting. It's your photos that you upload, but it indexes them by the content of the photo. So you can say red car, and it looks through all your photos and finds a red car, even though you never put those tags in. So in the beginning of electronic photos, iPhoto came out, you'd put your photos in it, then you'd go back through all your photos, put everybody's name in, put the descriptions, put what it was. No one ever bothered getting to that. So that's one of the reasons Apple added the Faces feature, because you don't really need to name every photo, but you want to find all your photos of mom. So you find a few of them named mom, and then it finds the rest of them. So the same sort of thing now with Google Photos. It can look through all your photos and find things based on what's in the photo. Well, this is a really good photo I like. A solar prominence with Earth to scale. These things are, yeah, that little tiny thing is Earth.
Scary.
Yeah. There was a photo. I probably will never be able to find it again. The distance between the Earth and the Moon is enough space to fit all the other planets. Yeah, but Google fixes that for me. I love Google. In fact, I had 3 words misspelled and it found them all. Yeah, so so the distance between Earth and, so this is the scale distance between Earth on the left and the Moon on the right. All the other planets fit in there, in that distance. As big as they are, they're still tiny compared to the rest of space. Even the space within our own little planetary system. Mind-bogglingly vast.
Steve,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Alright? Anyway, just to tell, go directly to the finder. So I always go to the bottom and say, show me finder.
Well, if you click once, it opens it as a menu. If you right click on it, you have options about what you want that menu to look like, and one of the options is to just open it. Let's see if I turn it into a stack.
It always,
Yeah, it always opens it as a menu.
then I just go to the end and say, yeah. Now, other ones like assistance references or something, well, when we open it, showing not those other standard things. I can't look at that.
Well, if it's a folder, it always gives you those options.
You open downloads often? I usually use the thing up in the top corner.
Well, one way to do it is to right click or two-finger click with the laptop and say open downloads, and that will jump you to it. Or the first icon on the left is the Finder icon. So if you click on that, that will take you to the Finder and open a Finder window, which you can then jump to your downloads. Where do you say you go?
In the upper bar, there's a little arrow. When it's downloading, click on it, it shows the progress.
Oh, that's only when you're in Safari. You can go to the download window, and then there's a magnifying glass to find that download. So if that's what you're doing, you're downloading something and want to find where it was, then you can click the magnifying glass in the Safari download icon. Yeah. It's a feature they added to pop this menu out. One of the things I do like is I'll have it sorted so by the date added. So the most recent file added is the one at the bottom. So I can jump to that one quicker. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, to actually jump to that folder, you can right click on it and choose open downloads.
You can make an alias of the download folder.
I wonder if an alias to downloads would act as a folder in the dock. No, not duplicate, not duplicate. Stop, stop, stop. I want to make an alias. Now, if I put that alias in the dock, oops. That'll do it.
That'll do it.
So an alias to the folder will open the folder, but the folder opens a menu.
And just put the alias,
Yep.
Thank you. I don't make it easy.
When you put the alias in dock, can you remove the actual download folder from the dock?
Yep. They made it a little harder to do. In previous OSs, you drag the icon off the dock a little bit and it vanishes in a puff of smoke. We found a lot of kids really like that little puff of smoke and will drag everything off the dock. So now you have to drag it a lot farther away from the dock before it will remove itself. And it says remove now. Before you got a little icon of the cloud of smoke, but you didn't know what it meant until it did it. All right, something just tried to get into my computer. So advertising program called InstallCore just tried to get into my, it's probably finding the one in the downloads folder because I just opened the downloads folder. So it's one of the advertising programs that tries to sneak in. FileZilla. Well, what is FileZilla? I downloaded FTP program, isn't it? Apparently this version of it has adware built into it. We've been hearing about that. Was it AVG just got yelled at? A lot of the free software are starting to include advertising programs to help pay for the free software. Unfortunately, some of the advertising networks aren't that polite, I guess. And you can get malicious ads, you can get obtrusive ads, big flashing lights, and so a lot of these free programs have to make their money somehow, so they've started putting advertising in them. So it looks like FileZilla was the latest one that I downloaded. I also get a lot of email attachments, invoice zip, Wells Fargo document. Oh, a Delta ticket. There you go. So it'll be fake email that is trying to trick you into opening the file and installing this Trojan horse. So it's probably an email, here's an invoice you haven't paid. And you think, oh my God, I haven't paid an invoice. I better see what it is. Or your Delta tickets. Well, I didn't know I was flying anywhere on Delta. No, it's, oh, I better check my tickets. So they sneak into your computer through email. Generally speaking, they're Windows programs, but many of them will go to websites that will install additional fake software. So I've just been using Sophos antivirus as a cleaning program, basically, to check for the bad stuff coming in. It's probably all in my junk folder anyway. Renew an account of some sort. But it does keep you apprised of what's happening. So I'll have to remember now that FileZilla has adware in it. And so far, Sophos still has a free version with no ads in it. Although it is a little hard to find. If you go to just the Sophos website, they push their enterprise technology and software more than they do their personal stuff. So even looking through, end user protection, none of that is Mac. So what I've sort of done, whenever I'm searching for something, I'll add Mac to the search phrase. So that will take me right to Sophos for Mac rather than for Windows or for any other platform. So kind of a search tip when you're searching for something for your Mac, put Mac in the search phrase, and it can help cut down on the extra stuff you don't necessarily want. Yeah, but if you go to their website, the front page of the website, it's hard to find. Yep. And that's usually how the A features work. The home version is free, and the enterprise version is expensive because it pays for the home version. And they're still supporting 10.6. The Malwarebytes for Mac, which detects the malicious advertising and software like that. They just, the new version needs 10.8, I think it was. Yeah, 10.8. So a lot of programs we're seeing, it was a question earlier, when do I upgrade my operating system? When you want to run a program that doesn't work on the OS you have. And if you get too far behind, it makes upgrading even harder. Because too many other things may need to be upgraded too. Another question? We'll probably end early. We're not very busy today. Is it too nice a day for people to come out? Or too dark? Yeah, it's getting dark too early. Yeah, I've still got Adware Medic, which was the precursor bought by Malwarebytes and re-released as Malwarebytes for Mac. Malwarebytes was a big, well-known anti-malware company for Windows, and they have a really good free anti-malware program for Windows. Yeah, so the last version of of Adware Medic was July. So let's download Malwarebytes while we're here. And Sophos is finding it. We're seeing a lot of the antivirus companies are starting to also do anti-adware because it's a similar thing, although technically not a virus, which is self-replicating. Yeah. Yep. Malicious software of some sort. Some of them, MacKeeper is probably one of the most well-known crapware. It's technically not a virus or malicious. It's just crap. Promises you things that are free. Claims to be a free download, which is true. Every download is free. And then it gives you these dire warnings about all the problems on your computer, and you got to pay us to actually fix them. And they say free forever until the new version comes out, and then you got to pay again. Yep. Well, and so they advertise everywhere, which is one of the problems. The company that owns them, in fact, it's a new company now. Used to be Zerobit, and then they sold to somebody else. They offer affiliate program fees. So if you, as your company, puts MacKeeper ad on your website, you get some money. And so what's been happening is so many people are signing up for this affiliate that the ads are everywhere. I've seen web pages where there's 5 or 6 ads for MacKeeper on the same page because they're coming from 5 or 6 different ad networks. So we can search the new El Capitan weight cursor, the rainbow beach balls. It's got a swoopy rainbow to it now instead of a pie wedge. Alrighty. Any last questions? Don't want to end. Well, I say don't want to end too early in case someone shows up at 5 of. Too bad for them.
Yeah, they're not likely to.
Yeah. Well, it's Rick and Carol are out of town. They're the ones that usually show up late.
I'm ready for my nap.
Yeah.
I did get to sign up on East High last Wednesday.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
And, but I was exhausted. I got there and I didn't have any energy left, so I left early. So I missed Steve's mixed presentation.
Well, it's on the YouTube channel. When there's time to watch it. Soundbites. Let me get this hider. There was a rash of people that came in at like 20 after 7, and we wondered if they had all gone to East High.
I was that's on
Yeah.
just looked at
Yeah, but they'd forgotten the meeting was at the church and went to East High, then remembered or saw the sign and came up. So we can see a live video of the live video. And then the Wednesday meeting is there too. All righty. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Steve.
Next CIDR meeting is FileMaker with Kevin Kondo on December 9th. Yep. He just got married a couple weeks ago. Yep.
He's in Buffalo.
Got married, moved to Buffalo. Yeah. She's his wife is a research scientist, biomedical research scientist. And then, of course, Soundbites on Saturdays. I didn't I had it on in my office, but I was so busy I didn't get a chance to listen to much of it. Jackie's out of town, so I was running the store today.
Oh, God. Probably gonna buy an Apple TV.
The new Apple TV, yeah.
You got 'em in
We've
stock.
got them in stock. We haven't got one open yet.
Probably come this week.
The biggest difference is the voice search on the Siri remote and the third-party apps.
Well, I don't have a previous one, so this will be my first.
Yep.
I'm getting ready to cut the cord with Time Warner.
Mm-hmm.
I've got mine open and installed, but I haven't gotten much time to play with it yet.
Yep.
Get the